Women, namaste. How are you doing? So, super good morning. I think it's the 11th of February today, and this is me, Shakti going live on the theme of if it hurts, it isn't love. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a priestess of love and sacred sexuality. I've been teaching embodied awakening and facilitating embodied awakening and sexual and spiritual awakening for women for 20 years. And I coach, I mentor, I facilitate, I heal, and of course this has been my own journey too. So I was going to be doing a live actually around body image and body love, and then it suddenly dawned on me that Valentine's Day is coming up on the 14th, so that's that next Tuesday, and so I switched the theme to love, thinking about love, meditating on love, contemplating love, because like who isn't fascinated by, interested in, yearning for, talking about love in some way, shape or form. All of life really is about love, all the relationships that we have, not just the sexual relationships or the romantic relationships, but every aspect of life really, as I see it, is about the flow of love. But of course, you know, if we look at love as something that is romantic or sexual, which of course it isn't just that, it's kind of one of the favourite topics and themes for humanity through the ages. Just look at all the myths, all the stories, all the television shows, all the films where love is the theme. So we are, as humanity, pretty obsessed with love. And, you know, that's great, and it also has its downsides. If we look at the ways that we're taught about love through popular culture, through the media, through music, through film, through drama, through Shakespeare, through poetry, you know, there are these wonderful ideals of what love is. Yes, it's idealized and romanticized, kind of quite distinct in many ways, often from reality. But also in all of these stories, dramas and films, we see very often unhealthy forms of love portrayed that are destructive, obsessive, dysfunctional, codependent, jealous, entangled, enmeshed. You know, we see a lot of forms of unhealthy love being modelled. There's nothing wrong with that, but if that's our only model for what love is, then we're not really being educated to embody and live love at its highest and truest expression. And of course, if we think about our own lives, we think about the people that we know, then again, just look at yourself, look at your own relationships, look at your own life, look at your friends' lives, look at your community, look at the world, and just kind of see where love is in all of those equations. Like, do you really see love? Do you really feel love? Do you see love in operation? And if not, what's going on there, you know? Of course, as a facilitator and as a mentor, as a guide and healer and priestess, I work one-to-one as well as in groups, primarily with women, and have done for 20 years. And most of the challenges and issues and questions that clients come to me with boil down to feeling pain, or feeling stuck, or feeling challenged, or feeling unloved, or feeling unlovable, ultimately, or having challenges in relationship where the feeling of love has gone. So, you know, it's a very dominant topic. And again, I want to highlight that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm a total romantic, and I'm sure I always will be. I'm a Libran, a real true diehard Libran, and romance is key for us. You know, relationships are key for us. Love is fundamental for us. So, you know, I have this romantic thread running through me. And I have my own wounds of love, of course. In fact, that's why I ended up becoming a priestess of love and sacred sexuality, because of my own wounds of love from my own childhood. So I know the longing for love very, very well. I see the longing for love in others and recognize it. And I know, because I've had to go on my own journey of healing, of exploration, of discovery, you know, I've learned a thing or two about love. So I want to share some of that wisdom with you today. You know, what is it that propelled me onto this path of being a priestess of love and sacred sexuality? What is it that drives my curiosity, endless curiosity, fascination and passion for authentic relating? It is my own fuck-ups, my own pain, my own two failed marriages, 2 broken marriages, multiple loverships that were unsatisfying in the sense of attracting unavailable men, being in abusive relationship, being in situations where I was with men who were emotionally unavailable, going right back to the sort of core wound that I know very well within myself, which is the wound of feeling unloved as a teenager by both of my parents, not feeling seen, not feeling heard. And so much of my romantic unfolding and challenge in relationship has stemmed from that core wound, of course. And it's the same for all of us, whether we're aware of it or not. That longing for love and the pain that comes up in relationship is ultimately connected to your soul's quest for healing and wholeness. But the misguided part is that we keep looking for that wholeness in something or somebody else. And the fact is, you're never going to find the answer or the ultimate healing and peace in another person or in another thing or in a substance or in a bottle or in anything that is outside of yourself. And I can say that confidently, having been the wounded healer, having been the seeker for 20 years, you know, exploring this topic in so many permutations through dedicated devotional spiritual practice, yoga, meditation, ecstatic dance, excuse me, self-inquiry, authentic relationship, counseling, therapy, tantra, mantra, what else is there left, you know, peak experiences, sexual experiences, looking for love in all these different places. And I want to share, and also if there's anything that you want to add or anything that you want to ask as I go along, please do. I'm just going to refresh the page on my Facebook Live here myself so I can see if there are any questions underneath. Okay. So the first thing, and this is the title of the video, right, is if it hurts, it isn't love. So many times I see clients, and I've seen myself in situations where I tell people I'm in love, madly in love actually, and yet I'm experiencing pain, I'm experiencing discomfort, I'm experiencing feeling abandoned, feeling wounded, feeling not good enough, feeling anxious, feeling fearful, feeling insecure, right? All of these things. And, you know, the old pattern would have been to blame the other person for not doing something right and therefore being the cause of my pain. Or having the thought, if they love me, then they wouldn't do this. If they love me, then this wouldn't be happening. But that's not really, as I see it now, as I've come to understand it, the way to kind of approach this and understand it. So if you're in a relationship, or if you're not in a relationship, if you're feeling the pain, Nalini says feeling you, well, this is kind of not what's happening now, but it's certainly what I've done a lot in the past. That's why I can kind of speak about it so freely without attachment now. And also why I can kind of really hold space for my clients, because I've been there, I've done that, I get it, I know it, and I can call it out. Thing is, right, when the pain comes up, whatever it is actually our pain. And when I say if it hurts, it isn't love, that is a quote, by the way, by Chuck Spezzano, not from me. The pain that we're feeling is not caused by the other, so they are not to blame. If anything, we can thank them later for triggering that pain in us, but they're not to blame. And it's not about looking outside or trying to intellectually analyze what's going on. It is to feel it, because it is an invitation to feel something that has not been felt, and most likely that pain is related to something that happened earlier in your life, probably in childhood, that was not able to be safely felt at the time, and now it's coming up to be felt, to be integrated, so that you are able to return to love. So even though, how can I say this, it would have originated in an experience that felt like not love, it felt like not love, there would have been a shutting down on some level of the heart or the body or the mind. There would have been a belief that kind of went with it, that's now kind of in the cells of the body, some kind of belief about unworthiness or not good enough, or you don't care about me. But basically it will stem back to feeling unloved and unlovable. But if we allow ourselves to feel the feeling, a sensation in the body, and be with it and embrace it and welcome it, that's the healing path that returns us to love, that brings us towards greater wholeness. So, you know, even though it hurts, it's actually a gift. It's actually an invitation to expand and return into love. I hope that makes sense. Again, I hear when I'm sitting and I'm listening sometimes to women talking, there can be a lot of gossip, there can be a lot of, he did this, he said this, he that, and so that's taking the focus entirely off yourself. It's an avoidance of feeling what you have to feel and taking ownership and responsibility for yourself and for your own emotions. So as an adult, you are fully responsible for all your emotions. You're fully responsible for how you react or respond. You're fully responsible for your own healing. As a child, you were not, but now as an adult, you are. And that's kind of part of the lesson of sovereignty that we are all here to learn. And kind of just moving through a few other points here, because of these childhood or younger person or earlier life woundings and traumas that we all have to various degrees, there can actually be an addictive pattern where we experienced something when we were younger that wasn't actually love. It was rooted in our caregivers or our parents or our partner's own lack of love. So this is kind of how the absence of love gets passed on down through the family, down through the chain, right? They couldn't love us unconditionally. Actually, it's still quite a rare person or parent who can love unconditionally. It's still pretty rare. They couldn't. They did their best and they couldn't, so they're not to blame. It is what it is. But because of that incapacity to love unconditionally, and actually perhaps that's kind of like too high an expectation to have of any human being, because none of us are saints. This programming has gone in that we're unlovable, and or we experienced ourselves being parented in certain ways, that because that's all we knew, we thought that was love. Unconsciously being manipulated by your mother or being belittled by your father was what you thought was love, because that's all you knew. To use you as their counsellor, which is what my parents did, for example, from my earliest teenage years. I was counsellor to mum, I was counsellor to dad, I was like piggy in the middle between them both and their dysfunctional marriage. And I was the one listening to them, hearing them. That's why I'm such a great listener now and so empathic. But really, that was a completely inappropriate role for a 13-year-old, for a 12-year-old, for a 14-year-old, to be her parents' counsellor, right? It's a complete overstepping of a child's boundaries. Inappropriate. But for me, then I learned that love was sublimating my own needs to be present to the other's needs. So one of my lessons, one of the programs that I took in was to be love is to not have needs and wants. To be love is to listen and to forget that I even exist, right? So even though the gift of listening, the gift of empathy that I've acquired through that, and probably have that innate capacity anyway, it could go to unhealthy levels. And that took me into abusive relationships later on as an adult, you see. So if it hurts, it isn't love. I learned these unconscious and unhealthy patterns, and that's all I knew. So then we can have this addiction to repeating that kind of a feeling. You know, the feeling of being like, so for example, attracting unavailable men, emotionally unavailable men, repeats the same childhood feeling of I'm not listened to, I'm not loved, I'm not worthy. So it's like unconsciously we attract into our lives what is needed for our healing. And we experience the pain again, and there's an opportunity then to feel it, to heal it, to see it, to bring awareness to it, to understand the roots of it, to shift that dynamic. Or we keep it unconscious, we deny it, we kind of spiritually bypass it, we pretend it's not there, we make everything okay, and we go on back into the same cycle again. That's why, you know, they'll say, it is said, you know, you can keep moving, you can keep changing partner, but basically the common denominator is you. So if you don't change, what's coming towards you isn't going to change. Actually gonna be, whether we like it or not, unconsciously attracting the very people that are needed to trigger this material for resolution, for a return to love, for a return to wholeness, for our healing. That's like the soul's impetus for evolution and growth and remembering of what we truly are, which is love. You know, in the moments that we know that, right? I'm sure you've all had that experience of knowing you're one with the all, of knowing yourself as love. The divine feminine herself is love. And when we're in contact with that knowing, it's, you know, it's all encompassing, and it can be so easy from that point to think, oh gosh, how silly I was to even question for a moment, you know, or to feel unworthy. Because if you really tap into her, to the love of the mother, to the love of the divine feminine, through your body, through your heart, through your womb, through your mind, you know, instantly there's just pure grace and acceptance. And we forget. To make is that we pretty much all have messed up models of what love is, because that's all we knew. I guess I've kind of made that point. So we've internalized it. And it can become, you know, like I've been doing this healing work, this inner journey, this devotion to love path for 20 years. And I'm still finding more and more layers. They get more subtle, but I keep finding more. And it's kind of like the more we become aware in a way, the more we open our hearts in a way, the more sensitive we are to anything that is not love. Everything in our lives, the good, the bad and the ugly, is an invitation to more love and awareness. Like everything. From my perspective, often it's the things that feel the hardest and most challenging that are the biggest opportunities for that recognition, the recognition of love. And, you know, it's okay. We open and close. Our hearts aren't permanently wide open. We aren't permanently in a state of oneness with the all. And that's okay. You know, we kind of fluctuate, we move, we change. But then even in that, at a certain point, there's like an underlying resting back into the truth. That even in the opening, even in the closing, even in the descent to the underworld, which we all go through as women again and again, spiraling down, spiraling up, that even in that darkness is the ultimate love. I often quote my own experience, and I've had many dark nights of the soul. I'm sure you have too. Well, probably the darkest night for me was when I was enmeshed in an abusive relationship and was kind of feeling on the edge of insanity and suicidal thinking. It was so dark, and I really could barely see the light. Like, it was probably a tiny pinprick of light in the darkness at some points in that experience. And as I eventually moved out of that experience, which luckily wasn't that long, it was about 8 months, I think, and I recommitted myself to love even more. I'm so grateful for that experience, like truly, 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 truly grateful, because what it did was put my nose right up against the wall, like literally it was like this, and it was like life saying, you cannot look outside yourself anymore for love. You take this fucking mirror and shine it back into yourself until you really love yourself. This is your task, to love yourself. Not out there, it's in here. Take all that energy you've been giving out, give it back to yourself until you really, really feel that love for yourself. And that was the gift. And I didn't feel it straight away, if I'm honest, but every single fucking morning I sat there and meditated on loving myself and on sending that love back to my own heart and praying for support and praying for guidance and praying to feel that love. That was the gift of the darkest moment of my life. So everything is an invitation into more love and awareness. All the challenges, all your issues, all your difficulties, they're all an invitation to return to love. And ultimately, I think it's Louise Hay who says this, every issue in our life, whether it's illness, whether it's financial scarcity, whether it's difficulty in your career, whether it's difficulty attracting relationship, everything, she says, her theory is, really the root of it is an absence of self-love. Well, we talk about this. What does it really mean, love, self-love, love, self-love? Well, to define it, perhaps it means radically accepting and allowing yourself to feel every single emotion, no judgment, every thought, every desire, every want, every part of your body, every part of your mind, every part of your sexuality, to truly accept it. No judgment, no repression. Doesn't mean we're acting out on all of these things. Just means we are allowing all of it. And we are expressing ourselves fully into the world without diminishment, without censorship, without adjusting, without fitting in, without making, this is like one of my learned behaviors was to fit into the environment like a chameleon, to be safe, because I didn't feel safe as a young person in my household. I didn't feel safe to be emotionally vulnerable, didn't feel safe to be me, didn't feel safe to speak up. So like speaking up, voicing my truth, being truly who I am, regardless of who's around me and not caring what others think, This is love. This is self-love. So it's pretty radical, and I would say we all have a lot of stretch room to grow into in this. And I can really say this, like, from the bottom of my own heart, from my own journey, from holding space for so many women, is you will never find the love you seek, the fulfillment you seek in an, I don't know what, it's stuck in my throat. That's really interesting. In another. Yeah, maybe that's the truth, even I still don't want to accept, but I know it's true. You will never find the love and fulfillment you seek in another. Never. It has to start and end with you. Then, sure, meet another from that place, but you'll never find it. It maybe temporarily you will. There'll be a temporary high, a temporary feeling of, oh, finally, bliss. But it is temporary. Things always change, people move on. What never leaves is you and your love, and the love that is. A couple more final points. The thing is with then comes the crash. Yes, says Nalini, then comes the crash. Exactly. And that's part of the addictive cycle as well that I've certainly known. The high of sort of fast, intense romance and the illusion, the love story, so fed by the, all these romantic myths and stories that my Libran heart loves, the romantic stories. But it's not real, it's not authentic. It is an illusion, it is a projection. And then, the kind of realization that it's not what we imagined it to be. A theme going on at the moment. Of course, there is this big focus on sex and romance, and I invite us all to expand our focus beyond those things, not to exclude them, because sex is beautiful, romance is beautiful, not to exclude that or judge that, but to remember and include, while we could be sitting here longing for romance and longing for a partner, meanwhile, hang on a second, we have work that we do. Is your work nourishing your heart and your soul? Is it work that you do with love? We have clients, perhaps. Do you love your clients? Are you bringing love into that? We have a relationship with money. Are you bringing love into that? We have housemates. Are you bringing love to them? We have family members. How is there love flowing there between you? Children, parents, aunts, sisters, brothers. We have a planet. We have pets. We have food. We have neighboring countries. We have politicians. We have education systems, right? So love isn't just about sex and romance, although, everything wants to kind of channel us into focusing only on that. It's all of this. It's everything. So it's like if we're contracting ourselves in some way or feeling in lack because we're not in a relationship, for example, or because our relationship isn't going well right now, just remember that you have the opportunity to experience love and be love all the time in every sphere of your being in life. Like you're cut off from anything. You are cutting yourself off from love in that thinking. But actually, if you just ground, center, breathe, open, and open yourself to receive, love comes rushing right in. It's always, always, always here. She is always here. So, and of course, if you're wanting to attract, then attracting from a place of lack is probably not going to give you the mirror that's going to be very nourishing. Whereas if you're attracting from an already in love state, in already fulfilled state, you're going to be mirroring and attracting something much more complete and whole towards you. Makes sense, right? 2 more points I want to make finally. Love and sex aren't separate. So in the 3D world, in the patriarchal world, these two things have been split off from one another and seen as completely separate. Like, I can love this person and I can have sex with that person, and they're completely distinct. It's an understanding as a priestess of love and sacred sexuality, dedicated to love, dedicated to embodied awakening, dedicated to reunifying heaven and earth through the body in this lifetime, is that you cannot have one without the other. And even though you pretend so, you deny this reality. You cut yourself off either from your sexuality, your life force, your power, your vitality, or from your love. And your ultimate expression as a human being, as a woman in this world, requires the full opening and unification of your womb, your yoni, and your heart, together united. And in its ultimate expression, the meeting of those two with your partner. And then there is just like, I can literally feel and see the potential for love in the world to expand beyond, beyond, beyond. But first we have to know this as women, and we have to embody this and be the light keepers, the gatekeepers for this within our own being and within our own relationships and sexual expressions. I experience sexual energy as love. The current of Shakti is love. And it's arousing. She's arousing. She's ecstatic. At my genitals, that's what she is. But when she flows through my whole body, my whole aura, it's ecstatic, it's blissful, it's love. Complete surrendering open to life. Life is love. This is my knowing. This is what I'm here to teach and transmit and share. Love and sex are not separate. Okay, and final point for today's live is that love does not mean we have to be nicey nice all the time or any time. Doesn't mean being a pushover. Doesn't mean we can't be angry. Doesn't mean we don't hold very strong and firm boundaries. That is actually loving. Holding boundaries is love. Expressing our emotions, whatever they are, is love. Owning and taking responsibility for our emotions is love. So all emotions are completely welcome in the field of love, and we own them, we take responsibility for them, and what we actually discover is that if we don't make ourselves wrong for feeling or thinking certain things, then no tension and repression builds up around them, so then there's no big explosion or no sideways passive aggression or no sneaky manipulation. It's just pure. Emotion is energy, pure. I hope that makes sense. So it really isn't about being nicey nice, it's about being true. So again, for me, love and truth are one and the same thing, authentic. And I'm still learning, the Radical Honesty workshop I was on last weekend really, showed me, mirrored for me, wow, there are still these ways in which I diminish myself, I keep myself small, I withhold what I want to say, I don't ask for what I want, and all these patterns of behavior kind of out of shape, all learned as means of survival back in my teenage years, but still impacting how I show up sometimes. It really depends on the situation, but it's like, take a look at where you're not fully being your authentic self. And it's okay, again, no judgment at all, pure love and acceptance. But just noticing, you, the essence of you, the real you, she just is, she just expresses, she doesn't have a thought of I can't, I shouldn't, I might not, doesn't even enter in. Today's sharing, and I'm just going to have a look to see if anybody has any questions. or any other comments that you want to add. While I just keep an eye out for that, I'm just going to invite us all actually to close our eyes. Whew. And whew, yeah, come into your body more as you close your eyes. Take away your attention to any external stimulation. What's alive inside your physical body right now? What can you sense? What can you feel? What emotions are there? What sensations are there? Just allow the body to relax around whatever it is, to breathe with whatever it is, and to welcome, welcome, welcome. Without tripping off into story or interpretation, even as if thoughts come and go, letting them be as well, letting them be. Right, about yourself, like what is it like to be in a field of accepting everything about yourself, accepting everything, breathing with everything. Heart center, connecting with yourself, the hands of love, channeling that love through the palms of your hands right back to you. Receive all the love in the world. Thank you for being here with me. If you have any questions or sharings you want to add once the video is complete, feel free to add them in the comments below. I always take a look and love to respond. And see you again, and I think it's in a couple of weeks' time I'll be doing a live about the body image, body shame. It's a really big one for women. Lots of love for now. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful weekend. Namaste.